Dear listeners, we're back with a new story. Get ready for cheating, revenge, and wild relationship drama. Something had shifted in Mia over the past few months. The laughter that used to fill our home had been replaced by a heavy silence, and her smiles felt increasingly forced, like she was trying to convince herself more than me. I would catch her staring off into space, lost in thought, while I spoke. "What are you thinking about?" I'd ask, hoping to bridge the growing gap between us. "Just work," she'd reply, her voice distant. "You know how it is. I'm tired." That was the word she used most often these days, and it stung each time. I wanted to comfort her, to wrap her in my arms and shield her from whatever was weighing her down. But instead, I felt myself being pushed further away. The warmth I craved seemed to evaporate, leaving a cold void in its place. One evening, as we sat on the couch, a movie flickering in the background, I decided to press her a little more. "Mia, is everything okay? You seem different lately." She glanced at me, her brow furrowing slightly. "I told you, I'm just tired. Work has been demanding. You know how it is in the marketing department, lots of late nights." "Yeah, but you used to enjoy your work. It feels like there's something else bothering you." I tried to keep my voice steady, but the worry seeped through. Mia sighed, running a hand through her hair. "It's just a phase, okay? I promise I'll be back to normal soon." But I couldn't shake the feeling that normal was slipping further away. The weekends we used to spend together exploring new restaurants or hiking had turned into solitary afternoons where Mia would disappear into her phone or laptop. I missed her. I missed us. That night, after she retreated to bed, I sat alone in the living room, replaying our conversations in my mind. My heart sank as I considered the possibility of infidelity. I shook my head, trying to dispel the dark thoughts. I was being paranoid. Still, the suspicion lingered, gnawing at me. A few days later, I came home to find her scrolling through her phone again. "Hey, how was your day?" I asked, trying to inject some warmth into the moment. "It was fine," she replied absent-mindedly, not bothering to look up. "Just busy." Her disinterest hit me like a punch. "Mia, can we talk?" "About what?" she asked, finally looking at me with a hint of irritation. "About us. About what's been going on with you." She sighed, a weariness creeping into her expression. "Look, I'm just tired, okay? I've been putting in extra hours, and I don't have the energy for a long conversation right now." "I get that. But we used to talk about everything. I just feel like there's a wall between us." I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, frustration bubbling just below the surface. "Can't you just give me a break? I'm really not in the mood for this right now," she snapped, before returning her attention to her phone. The conversation hung in the air, thick with unspoken words. I stared at her, my heart aching, the distance between us more pronounced than ever. It was as if I was reaching for her through an invisible barrier that she had erected, and I didn't know how to break it down. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I needed to know what was really going on with Mia. What if it was just stress? Or what if it was something much worse? As the sun rose, I made up my mind. "What if you went away for the weekend with your friends?" I suggested over breakfast, trying to keep my tone light, even as my heart raced with the implications. Her eyes lit up momentarily, and I felt a flicker of hope. "Really? You'd be okay with that?" "Yeah, you deserve some time to relax," I said, forcing a smile. "Thanks. I think it'll be good for me," she replied, enthusiasm returning to her voice, but I felt the knot tighten in my stomach. Was she genuinely excited about seeing her friends, or was it just a cover for something else? Once she was out the door, I felt a surge of adrenaline. I was determined to uncover the truth, whatever it took. As I packed my bag for the resort where she would be staying, my heart was heavy with anticipation. This weekend would reveal everything I needed to know. The day of Mia's getaway finally arrived, and I felt an anxious knot in my stomach as I watched her bustle around the apartment, packing her bags. She flitted from the bedroom to the living room, her movements hurried yet light, her laughter ringing in the air like music. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy mixed with apprehension. Was she genuinely excited, or was this just a facade to mask something deeper? "Do you think I should take my new sandals or the ones I wore to the beach last summer?" she called out from the bedroom, her voice cheerful. "The new ones. They'll look great," I replied, forcing a smile even as I felt a pang of unease. I wanted to believe she was just going to unwind with friends, but my gut churned with uncertainty. After she finished packing, I helped her carry her bags to the car, and as we loaded them into the trunk, she turned to me, a playful grin on her face. "You know, I'm going to miss you this weekend, yeah." "I'll miss you too," I said, trying to sound sincere. "But it'll be good for you to recharge, right?" "I'll come back with stories to tell," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. As she climbed into the car, I felt a moment of clarity. This was my chance to find out the truth. "Just don't stay out too late, okay? You know how I worry. Relax. It's just a girls' weekend." "What could happen?" she laughed, but her laughter felt hollow to me, echoing in the pit of my stomach. After she drove off, I gathered my things and headed to the resort where she was going. The sun was setting as I arrived, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the beauty of it did little to calm my nerves. I checked into a nearby hotel under a different name, my heart racing at the thought of what was to come. Once settled, I paced my room, filled with a mixture of anticipation and dread. I had only a few hours to wait until I could confirm my suspicions. What if I'm just being paranoid? I muttered to myself, gripping the edge of the table. But deep down, I knew I had to see for myself. As the evening rolled in, I received a text from Mia. "Just got here. The place is gorgeous." I felt my heart skip a beat, a rush of anger and fear flooding me. I slipped out of my hotel and made my way toward the resort, determined to keep my cool. The resort was alive with laughter and the sound of clinking glasses. I walked through the lobby, trying to blend in with the crowd, my heart pounding louder with each step. I found a seat at the bar, nursing a drink as I scanned the area. Every laugh felt like a stab in my gut as I kept searching for her. After what felt like an eternity, I finally spotted Mia. She was radiant, her hair cascading down her shoulders as she chatted animatedly with her friends. I felt a momentary sense of relief wash over me, until I noticed the man standing too close, leaning in with a casual intimacy that made my stomach turn. Mia laughed, her laughter bright and genuine, as the man placed his hand on her back. "You're going to love this place," he said, his voice low and smooth. "Yeah, I can't wait to explore." Mia replied, her excitement palpable. I felt my blood boil as I discreetly pulled out my phone, the camera ready. I needed evidence, something to confront her with when the moment was right. With shaky hands, I snapped a few photos, each click feeling like a nail in my heart. I watched as the man leaned closer, whispering something in her ear that made her giggle. The intimacy in her response was like a knife twisting deeper into my gut. It was clear that this was no casual friendship. They were entwined in a connection that made me feel like an outsider in my own life. After a few more drinks, Mia and the man moved to a quieter corner of the bar, and my heart raced with a mix of anger and betrayal. I could hear snippets of their conversation as I sat at the bar, the world around me fading into a blur. "I really missed you," the man said, his voice low and enticing. Mia responded, "I missed you too. It's just been so hectic with everything at work. I needed this escape, an escape." My heart sank further as I realized that this was not just a friendly reunion, it was a betrayal of everything we had built together. I felt my fists clenched tightly around my drink, the cold glass pressing into my palm as I fought to contain my rage. In that moment, I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. I had gathered enough evidence to confront her, to lay bare the truth behind her deceit. As I walked back to my hotel, the night air was thick with tension, and I felt the weight of my decision pressing down on me. I would not let her walk away from this unscathed. She would feel the pain of what she had done to me, and I would make sure of it. After witnessing the undeniable connection between Mia and the man at the bar, I stumbled back to my hotel room, my heart racing with a mix of fury and despair. Each step felt heavier as I replayed the scene in my mind, the laughter, the whispers, the way he leaned into her personal space. I could still hear her voice, light and carefree, and it made my blood boil. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I had taken. My hands shook as I scrolled through the images, Mia's radiant smile, the man's arm around her, their intimate gestures. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. This wasn't just a friendly outing, it was a betrayal, and I had the proof right there in my hands. I took a deep breath and muttered to myself, I need to make this count. I had to gather more evidence, something that would make it impossible for her to deny the truth when I confronted her. I needed to find out just how deep this affair ran. After steeling my resolve, I returned to the resort, my heart pounding with determination. I walked into the bar, scanning the room for Mia and her companion. The atmosphere was buzzing with laughter and chatter, but my focus was solely on her. I noticed they were seated in the same corner, the man leaning closer to her as they shared another drink. I crept toward them, my heart pounding, and took a seat at the bar nearby, pretending to be engrossed in my phone. From my vantage point, I could hear snippets of their conversation, and I felt a mix of anger and helplessness wash over me. I'm so glad we could finally do this, the man said, a charming smile on his face. Me too, Mia replied, her eyes sparkling as she leaned in. I really needed this break. I leaned forward slightly, straining to hear more. You know, I've missed you, he said, his voice softening. I've thought about you a lot since, well, you know. Mia's expression shifted slightly, a shadow crossing her face. I know. It's been crazy with work, but I'm glad we're here now. Crazy with work. I muttered under my breath, anger boiling within me. I was the one left at home, worrying about her, while she was here, enjoying herself with someone else. I pulled out my phone again, fingers trembling as I recorded their conversation, capturing every intimate moment I could. I snapped photos of their interactions, his hand brushing against her thigh, the way she smiled at him as if they were the only two people in the room. Each click felt like a dagger in my heart, but I needed this. Suddenly, Mia turned her head, and I froze, my heart racing. Did you see that guy at the bar? He keeps staring at us, she said, her voice laced with concern. Let him stare, the man replied, a cocky grin spreading across his face. You look amazing. Why should you care what he thinks? I felt a surge of anger. How dare he objectify her like that? She was more than a pretty face, she was my partner, and here she was, enjoying the attention he lavished on her. Maybe I should go talk to him, Mia joked, her eyes glinting mischievously. Don't even think about it. You're here with me, remember, he said, his tone possessive. I could hardly believe my ears. The audacity of it all made my stomach churn. My hands clenched around my phone as I fought against the urge to confront them right then and there. I had to keep my cool. I needed more proof, something that would tear down any excuses she might try to offer later. After a while, I decided to step outside, hoping to gather my thoughts. I paced along the balcony, staring out into the dark night. The cool breeze offered some solace, but the reality of Mia's betrayal weighed heavily on my heart. I took a moment to compose myself, muttering, this ends tonight. She will not get away with this. I returned to the bar, steeling myself for what was to come. As I walked back inside, I noticed they had moved to a quieter area, laughter filling the air. I approached their table, my heart racing as I cleared my throat. Mia, she turned to me, surprise etching her features. What are you doing here? Her voice was laced with panic, and I could see the guilt flicker in her eyes. I came to see how you were doing, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I gestured to the man beside her. And to meet your friend. Mia opened her mouth to speak, but before she could respond, I added, I've been following your weekend. I saw everything. Her face paled, and the man shifted in his seat, his confidence faltering. What are you talking about? She stammered. I know about the two of you, I said, keeping my voice low but firm. I saw you. I have photos, Mia. You can't deny it anymore. Mia's eyes widened, and I felt a mix of satisfaction and dread. The truth was finally out, but I could already see the cracks forming in the facade of our relationship. This was just the beginning, and I was ready to face whatever came next. The tension in the air was palpable as I stood there, facing Mia and her companion. Time seemed to stretch, each second an eternity as the reality of what I was about to confront sank in. I had gathered all the evidence I needed, but now I had to face the person I had loved so deeply, the person who had betrayed me so completely. What do you mean you've been following us? Mia's voice trembled slightly, betraying the bravado she had tried to maintain. Her eyes darted between me and the man, panic flashing across her face. I mean, I saw everything, I replied, my voice steady but laced with anger. I saw you laughing, the way he touched you. I have photos, and it's clear this is more than just a friendly weekend. The man shifted uncomfortably in his seat, glancing between us. Maybe we should just take a step back. No. I cut him off, my gaze locked onto Mia. This isn't about you. This is about us. How could you do this to me, Mia? To us. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. I could see the internal struggle on her face as she fought to find a justification for her actions. The silence stretched painfully between us, and I took a deep breath to steady myself. I thought we were happy, I continued, my voice breaking slightly. You kept telling me you were tired, that you needed space. I never imagined you'd be here, wrapped up with someone else. Please, she finally said, her voice a desperate whisper. It's not what you think. It was just a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness? I interrupted, incredulous. This isn't just a slip-up, Mia. You've been lying to me. You've been unfaithful. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear, she pleaded, her eyes welling with tears. It just happened. You don't understand what it's been like for me at work. Work? You think that's an excuse for cheating? I shot back, anger bubbling up inside me. You think I wouldn't have listened if you had come to me? If you had just talked to me instead of sneaking around? I was scared, she exclaimed, her voice rising. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you. Maybe you should have thought of that before you decided to sleep with someone else, I replied coldly, my heart aching at the thought of her betrayal. The man, sensing the escalating confrontation, stood up. Look, maybe we should just leave this alone. No, you don't get to just walk away. I turned my glare on him, fury coursing through my veins. You had no right to come between us. You knew she was in a relationship. He raised his hands in surrender. I didn't know. I thought. Exactly. You thought. I spat. You didn't care enough to find out the truth. You just wanted to take advantage of a vulnerable woman. Mia's eyes darted back and forth between us, and I could see her crumbling under the weight of our confrontation. Can we just talk about this somewhere else? She asked, her voice shaky. Talk about what, Mia? Talk about how you chose to betray me. I replied, my heart breaking at the sight of her tears. You think we can just go back to how things were? You think I can trust you again after this? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The reality of what she had done was settling in, and I could see the devastation etched across her face. I didn't want it to end this way, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I love you. I really do, love. Is this what love looks like to you? I challenged, feeling the pain in my chest grow sharper. You don't betray someone you love, Mia. You don't hide behind excuses and lies. Mia took a step forward, desperation in her eyes. Please, just give me a chance to explain. It was a mistake, a mistake. I echoed, my voice thick with emotion. A mistake implies it was a one-time thing. But this was a choice, Mia. You chose to be with him instead of talking to me. Her shoulders slumped, and she seemed to deflate under the weight of my words. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I was lost. I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping you out of it, keeping me out of it. I scoffed, shaking my head in disbelief. You were protecting yourself at my expense. That's what this was about. I never wanted to hurt you, she cried, her voice cracking. Can't we just try to move past this? I'll do anything, anything. I shot back, disbelief lacing my words. What do you think you can do to fix this? You can't take it back, Mia. You've shattered everything we had. I'll go to therapy. I'll talk to you every day, she pleaded, her voice growing frantic. Therapy. I echoed, feeling an empty laugh escape my lips. What good will that do now? You can't just erase the betrayal with promises. It doesn't work that way. The weight of the confrontation hung heavily between us, the realization that everything we had built was crumbling. I felt a strange mix of anger and relief, a tumultuous swirl of emotions that left me breathless. As I turned to leave, I paused and glanced back at her one last time. I loved you, Mia. But this? This is the end. I can't be with someone who doesn't respect me enough to be honest. With that, I walked away, leaving her behind. Each step felt like a weight being lifted, but the pain of betrayal lingered. I had confronted the truth, and while the path ahead was uncertain, I knew it was one I had to take alone.